the Bowels of Netflix, where your fearless co-hosts Isaac and Larry force each other to watch the worst pieces of shit on Netflix. We will go over every bad edit, all the broken dialogue, all the wooden acting, and laugh along the way, because this is the Bowels of Netflix! Alright, welcome to the Bowels of Netflix. I am Isaac, and with me as always is my fully clothed co-host, Larry. How are you doing this week, Larry?
A, that's not accurate, and B, I'm coming in hot. I'm coming in fucking hot. I'm coming in hot off the Wayans, and I'm fucking coming in hot.
Coming in hot off the Wayans. That's how admirals in World War I signed off in the French Republic.
I didn't think I'd get so mad, but I did.
Oh, I'm so glad. I was afraid, because I liked the beginning of this movie. I don't know what's wrong with me. Something's wrong with me, but I liked it. I had fun, Larry. Tell me why I'm sick. You need to tell me.
I think you're going to get, you, Isaac, and you, the audience, are going to get a look inside my head. You're going to get to find out what it's like to be me, and you're never going to sleep again. Because it being me, I think, I told you this off before we started recording, but I think I can categorically prove this movie doesn't actually exist.
I'm very intrigued. You've told me to get out my pen and paper and protractor.
Yes,
I have a whole setup.
I've asked you to have several sheets of paper and a pen ready because you're going to need to take notes. Audience, if you can, I encourage you to do the same.
Okay, so we are the Bowels of Netflix. What we like to do is force each other every week.
Hot!
One of us makes the other, poor son of a bitch, watch the worst movie we could possibly find on Netflix. And then describe it back to the other one in excruciating detail while the original person revels in their misery and suffering. So you can find us online. We're Bowels of Netflix. That's Gmail. I'm getting ahead of myself. Bowels of Netflix, Facebook, and Twitter. The social media. Instagram, Snapchat, I don't know.
Grindr.
What, Grindr? We're on a Grindr, right? We're looking for bears.
Farmers
Hunky bears.
only.
But yeah, if you want to send us an email, that would be Gmail. bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, any suggestions for the show, any movies you think we should maybe check out and subject the other one to. That'd be awesome, so please send us your thoughts. And make sure to like and subscribe and share us with your friends and all that fun stuff. Because we really like doing the show. We'd like to keep doing it. The more listeners we get, the less we feel like this is a mutual masturbation episode. So, without further ado, Larry, please jerk me off.
So for those of you who are been listening to this show since the beginning, this show started with back-to-back episodes about the Wayans brothers. The Wayans family, I guess.
Yes.
The first episode of this show was about, I reviewed the movie White Chicks, and
the second episode, do you remember the title to the second episode, actually?
Yes, because I have it written down in my actual review, because I was going to point
You
to
cheating whore.
Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. The only movie this summer with a
14-word
title. Yeah.
Unacceptable. And every time we have a long title, like Cirque du Freak, the vampire's assistant, it makes me angry, because I have to type it out in all of the documents of like, okay, I'm saving the raw audio file, now the unmixed audio file, now the mixed audio file, now the final MP3, I'm gonna upload the file, I have to type it out every single time. So when it's a one-word title, like Naked or Tusk, it's like, great. When it's Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood, I just want to fucking kill you.
I'm so happy. Good.
I have to type it 9 times.
Oh, also True Memoirs of an International Assassin.
Yeah. Most of the movies you picked for me have been absurdly long.
I didn't know that. Okay, that's a good thing to keep in mind for the future.
I was very... As much as I didn't like Tusk, which is our movie next week, I was very grateful for the 4-letter title, which was also very easy to search on Xbox, because T, U, and S are right next to each other. So I could just arrow over. It was great. I was living on high this week, Larry.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you were all high on the fucking... Oh boy, Tusk, that's gonna be fun. But we're talking about the fucking Wayans. Don't get me off track. So yeah, episodes 1 and 2 of this show were Wayans Central Station, and now the fucking circle is complete. We're going way down to Wayans Town. What ho, my lad.
Wayans Town.
So, the movie I'm reviewing this week is a movie I didn't know existed until Isaac pointed it out to me.
I'm so glad.
It is called Naked. And it stars Marlon Wayans, who, for those of you who remember our reviews, if you're a longtime fan, he portrayed Wayan number 2 in White Chicks, and he was Loke Dog in Don't Be a Menace to South Central,
yes.
Well, et cetera, et cetera.
And
he had all the shit in his hair and the mail truck with a nuke in it.
Oh, God.
This show is insane.
It really is. Now, I like to think we're, as much as we can be, we're beyond race. We can't be perfect about it.
Yes.
Because we're white.
Yeah, I mean, we are the problem.
We're
white males.
And
we're kind of the problem in everything.
Yeah. It's naive to say, I don't see race or anything like that. Like, that's just silly.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, absolutely.
Race is a thing. We're white. We've benefited from white privilege. Let's just acknowledge that and be like, okay, I'm going to try day to day to not be racist as much as I possibly can. Yes. Having said that, the Wayans are blickety black? Is that how you describe them?
All right, look. Last week I was willing to take the hit for alleging that somebody was a racist. You're on your own with blickety black, okay?
I would say the Wayans are blickety black. I'm okay. I'll state that on the record. Marlon Wayans is blickety black. Nothing wrong with that. He just
allegedly. Is allegedly. No, and unlike White Chicks, this movie doesn't really revel in black culture, let's say.
Right, yeah,
really
and even South Central was like a send-up of, like, hood movies, or, like, typical movies starring black people in the early 90s or whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah, this is not a race movie. It really doesn't matter that he's black. Whereas the other two movies from the Wayans we've covered, them being black is central to the plot.
Yes.
Cool.
It doesn't really come up, besides a few gags with him dancing, because of course he fucking dances, and a couple of jokes that are kind of throwaway jokes. It's not central to the plot. And
it could have been recast with a white person and been the same movie, just with a little retooling.
It is funny you should say that, because, Isaac, did you know the origins of the movie Naked?
Groundhog's Day?
So, we're going to get into Groundhog's Day later, but Groundhog Day is a movie starring Bill Murray where he gets trapped in a time loop. Naked is not based on Groundhog Day. Naked is based on a 2000 Swedish film called Naken, which is the same movie. Which, of course, Naken is a knockoff of Groundhog's Day. The movie Naked, which I'll be reviewing today, is a remake of a knockoff of Groundhog's Day.
Starring Wayans.
That sink in. This is the start. This is where the road begins. We're going to see where the road takes us. Yeah, so the Swedish film Naken is a knockoff of Groundhog's Day. And as I didn't see, it's not anywhere easily accessible. It's not well reviewed. It's not been translated. I didn't look. The Wikipedia page for Naken is very limited. I didn't do a lot of research about it because any comparisons I have to make are going to be fucking made to Groundhog Day anyway, because that's the superior movie. But like I said, we'll get to Groundhog's Day later. There's a time and place for it.
Okay.
But yeah, so Naked. Jesus Christ! Every time I see a fucking single poster from this movie, made in 2017. Starring Marlon Wayans. He's the only Wayans in this, as far as I'm aware. I could not find a budget for it anywhere, but I don't know. It probably has a similar budget to Love, Wedding, Marriage. because it's just kind of like a movie about rich people getting married. So tough to say. It's a Netflix original, but as I said, of course, it's a remake of a fucking knockoff, which you're going to hear me say a lot, so get used to that fucking shit. On Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm going to guess this had a lot to do with your choice, currently, the tomato meter, which is a critically aggregated percentage, stands at a 0%.
Ooh, nice. I didn't know that, actually. This is a movie I found really early on.
Yes.
I
you've had
stumbled
this
on this on Netflix. Oh, yeah. I found this back in, episode 4 or 5 region, right after we did all the Wayne stuff, and I was like, I can't Wayne's Larry up right away. I gotta save this for a hot minute. And then I watched 30 minutes of it, and was like, is this a good movie?
It's not...
I liked it. I had fun. I enjoyed it. And I was like, oh no, can I pull this trigger, or is Larry gonna like it too? And Larry hates everything, so I needn't have worried.
This is a part. I reach a problem here somewhere in the middle of this. I reach a crisis where I don't know if I hate it because I'm an insane person, or if I hate it because it's awful. But I think it's both.
I'm pretty sure it's awful.
I'm pretty sure
it was not. I think any of my liking for it is like a weird Groundhog's Day nostalgia, and the reason I like Adam Sandler movies, just dumb, goofy, funny, appeals to me, even when I know it's terrible. It's like someone getting kicked in the nuts.
Yes,
I'll laugh at someone get kicked in the nuts, even though it's
Wayans is not untalented.
Yeah,
he's talented in a very specific way that I don't think is great, but he's not untalented.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It'd be a mistake to say he's a shit actor. I don't care for his particular brand of acting. Every now and then it's worth a laugh, and he's really good at physical comedy. He makes stuff work, but it just doesn't... Oh, boy. So, there's so much. This one is going to be a long fucking episode, so strap on your lederhosen, because we're going to be here a while.
Lederhosen.
The audience
is supposed to be naked. Come on.
The audience score is 30%, so also not good. On IMDb, it has a 5.4, once again proving that IMDb is absolute shit. But whatever, we're going to keep doing it because now it's a thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's so much to talk about that I don't even know what else to get into beyond that. This was directed by the best named director ever, Michael Tiddes. It's probably pronounced, it's Tiddes, which is probably pronounced Tidies, but there's a great online joke called anime titties with D's instead of T's, and it's all I can think of every time I look at it. Which he also did 50 Shades of Black, which is like the Wayans version of 50 Shades of Grey. He did the Haunted House movies. All terrible. All terrible. All have just terrible. He did a Haunted House, a Haunted House 2, 50 Shades of Black, and Naked, which are all Wayans movies. And
so he's in bed with the Wayans.
The highest percentage of that is a Haunted House at 10% aggregated.
Oh God.
So yeah. So this is just
Jesus.
Shit rolls downhill, and this is where it's rolled downhill too. So let's just try to ease ourselves into it, because there's a lot to talk about. Now, like I said,
like anal sex.
Yeah,
lube
much.
up a thumb, pop it in there, just let it sit. Just let the thumb sit.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, like I said, Marlon Wayans is our star. He's shucking and jiving all over the damn gaff through about about 90% of this movie, because he's always in a goddamn hurry to service the plot's ridiculous runtime. It's somehow a plot about a time-traveling naked man's biggest problem is that it's fucking boring. Just take a bunch of the less funny gags from Groundhog Day and stretch them out, and then you get naked. And if you're anything like me, and I hope you're not, I truly do. Once you start to poke holes in the condom that is this plot and let the jizz dribble out sadly onto the floor, unloved, you really start to see about how a lot of the time travel rules really break down and they play real fast and loose with everything that constitutes 60 minutes into an hour.
Yep. Time travel movies don't work.
No.
They just don't.
No.
I've tried to write a time travel story, and it just gets untenable.
Do you
it's
know
just
like a time travel movie, if I really had to think of one that like actually worked with no plot holes, it's this romantic comedy called Groundhog's Day, which actually does it quite well. And you know what would probably not work is if you did a knockoff of that and then remade it 17 years later. And you changed the cast from Swedes to the fucking Wayans. But we'll get to that.
Sounds about right. As much of a fan of Harry Potter as I am, the third book, Prisoner of Azkaban, kind of just pisses me off because time travel just never works.
No.
It never works good.
No. Time travel's... There's pretty... And I know I just did a joke about it, but there's pretty much one movie where it works, and it's Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty spotless. It's pretty... we'll get... I don't want to get to Groundhog's Day now. We'll get to it. But, yeah, it's always hard to do time travel, especially when you're a fucking lunatic like me, and you feel the need to break down everything to its lowest base component.
We should do a spin-off podcast called The Fibrous Turds of Netflix, where it's good movies, like Bowels of Netflix, or Big Lebowski, or Pulp Fiction, or something like that.
You listed Bowels of Netflix as a good movie, you stupid idiot.
We're a good movie.
We could write a good movie. I think that should be our spin-off, is us trying to write a good movie. I really do. We'll talk about that another day, because right now I've got the fucking Wayans to talk about, and there's so much to get into.
Groundhog's Day, but every 10 minutes with a Chinese person. How about that?
All right, slow down, spaghetti. Now, when you say, do you mean like just randomly in the plot? Like, and also in my head, it's not a Chinese person, but it's Mickey Rourke doing a Chinese person impression very badly.
No, actually, that might be interesting, where the plot centers around someone who's not time traveling. The time traveling person is like his valet or something. And the time traveling is just haphazard
save
around.
Save it for a spinoff. I fucking Jesus. Save it for a spinoff podcast.
Naked. Get naked, Larry. Get naked.
If we get one more fucking Wayans movie on this show, we're doing a bonus adventure in the colon about the Wayans family. I swear to fucking God. If I give one to you, or if you give one to me, we're doing a Wayans-centric episode so we can put them to bed forever.
That's fair, because there's a family dynamic that I'm aware of, but I don't know much about, and I want to research. Because there's a lot of siblings.
There is a lot of them, and they're like one of the big showbiz families. And one of them, and I can never remember which one, is like actually halfway respected, and I think it might be Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Well, there's Damon Wayans, too.
Who wrote White Chicks? Damon Wayans I don't know a lot about, but we'll save that off for the bonus episode, too.
Damon Wayans was more successful. He was in, like, big-budget movies in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, yes, I do. One or two of them was in Living Color and were supposed to be good. I think Keenan Ivory
Probably Damon, I think.
Maybe both.
Because Damon Wayans was in Bulletproof, which is an Adam Sandler comedy.
Okay, I don't think
Which is pretty good, actually.
I don't know. But... we're now at I assume, the newest of the Wayans family projects. Marlon Wayans, who's the star of this movie, has a TV show on, I want to say NBC, called Marlon, which, you know, how they give comedians shows, like, famously Seinfeld. Everybody loves Raymond. Frasier's a spinoff of Cheers, but that's not important. They give comedians shows and basically just make a sitcom about them. Obviously, Seinfeld being the best of the bunch, and I'll brook no argument about it otherwise. But I got renewed for a season 2, so it must be something, right? And like I said, Marlon Wayans, he's not a terrible actor. I think his brand of acting is not the best, and I'm not a huge fan of it, but he's good at what he does. It's just like, you know, I can be really good at stacking cards that don't mean shit if I can't do anything with it, you know? That's kind of how I feel about it. So, yeah. As we know...
It's like being good at surfing.
Yeah,
like,
yes.
No one gives a shit how good you are at surfing.
Or like flag twirling. It's just,
right,
yeah, you can be excellent at it, but it's not, like, you can't really do much with it.
Right. So, someone's gonna clap for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you're never going to make money.
I
mean, I guess the
recognize you
Wayans
have
made
talent,
money,
and
but...
then also, continue to live my life with not acknowledging that in any way. And
right, yeah.
I'm a talentless hack, so... And...
Let's start twirling flags. I feel like that's going to put us on the map.
So we open in New York City. We can't... How far into the recording are we already?
20 minutes.
Okay.
We fucked ourselves already.
Oh, boy. There's so much. Oh, folks, I want to tell you. Now, I write out a lot of my reviews word for word just because I'm an insane person, and I have to... my stream of consciousness literally never stops. It's actually... And I know I joke around a lot, but it's actually kind of ruining my life because I can't, function. And so I write out a lot of my complete thoughts. And there'll be random points where I know I don't have the thoughts yet, but I can riff it out. So usually my reviews are much longer than Isaac's because he's actually a clever comedian and can fucking riff. Whereas I'm just a fucking hack with stream of consciousness. So usually my reviews end up being 8 or 9 pages. This is 14. And the last 2 pages are a lot of me just saying riff about this, get angry about that. So there's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a long episode. And there's audience participation. So you're gonna have to follow along. And by audience, I mean you, because they're not here. Also, fuck you. So we open in New York City. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. Marlon Wayans. By the way, I was calling them Wayan. I was referring to them as Wayan 1 and Wayan 2. Their last name is Wayans with an S permanently. I'm going to get that wrong. Just roll with it. Marlon Wayans. He's teaching a prep school class. He's wearing a fucking Atari shirt because that's what you do in prep school, because that's what a fucking dress code is for a teacher. He's asking them about which of the 2 following books they like better. Catcher in the Rye or Lord of the Flies. The prep school kids like Catcher in the Rye, but Marlon likes Lord of the Flies. Now, Isaac, I have not read Catcher in the Rye. It's just somehow I missed the class in high school where you're supposed to read that. But I have read Lord of the Flies. I think that this might be the theme of the movie, but I'm too dumb to figure it out. Have you read Catcher in the Rye?
I have not.
Okay.
But I've been told it's basically Perks of Being a Wallflower, but the 1960s version.
I have not read Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Very good book. You should read that. But yeah, I don't know. Some whingy-ass fucking teenager does a bunch of drugs, fucks a prostitute, and gets sad.
Okay.
Fucking whatever.
All right.
Yeah, being a teenager. It's called being a teenager. Shut the fuck up, Halden Caulfield, you asshole.
Well, that's
Smug
basically
motherfucker.
That's basically what Marlon Wayans says, because they all the prep school kids all identify with Catcher in the Rye, but he likes Lord of the Flies because he's like, Holden Caulfield ain't gonna last 10 seconds on that island. Again, that's how
Damn
he talks.
straight.
That's how he talks. So yeah. I think that's the theme of the whole movie. Kind of. But also it never comes up again. Literally ever after this scene. And
So don't be Holden Caulfield?
I don't even. Okay. So we find out that Marlon Wayans is a substitute teacher, and whilst he's arguing with one of his students, he tells that student that he's going to be a virgin until he's 35 because, yeah, that's appropriate for an education professional, especially in a prep school where nobody sues nobody. And he calls a student sweetheart, which is weird, and I feel like somebody's getting fucking arrested for that, and it ain't me. It's
I
Marlon Wayans.
literally just watched a sexual harassment corporate video today that specifically named things not to call people. Like, baby, sweetheart, dear, darling, buddy. It was like...
Yeah, he calls a student sweetheart, which is,
Not cool. No.
That might work.
As I was hearing it, I was like, I would never, ever be close to doing any of these things.
I could see a kindergarten teacher calling a kindergarten student sweetheart. That I'm okay with. Any other time, it's wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah, that's fair.
So because he's fucking Marlon Wayans, nobody cares. A principal comes in and offers Marlon a full-time position, but Marlon immediately shoots it down. His name is Rob or something.
I know you've been working here, being a teacher, and you ain't fucked any of the kids yet. You want a full-time job? Because honestly, you're the best we got.
He shoots it down for no real reason that we're privy to, and says he has to get on a plane since he's getting married tomorrow.
That's a great reason.
Now, Isaac, we do a lot of bits in this show.
Yes, we do.
But I can't stress enough how important these opening scenes are.
Oh, golly.
You know how, like, the opening scenes of a movie are sort of cleverly disguised, usually, to give you an idea of who the characters are and their motivations and all that shit?
Sure.
Well, this movie does that, and it does an adequate job of it. But these first two scenes, where the one in the school getting offered the job that just happened, and the one we're about to see, kind of define the entire plot.
Oh, interesting.
Because this movie does a lot of telling and not showing. Somehow,
disappointing.
In a movie that's literally about time, they don't have time to show us the plot. So pay close attention to what's happening here, what I'm describing.
I'll try. No promises.
So Marlon heads to the airport where he Wayans his way through the terminal, and if you don't know what the fuck I mean when I say he Wayans his way anywhere, watch 5 minutes of any Wayans movie and you'll understand immediately. It's just, I'm going to say...
it's
shucking
clear
and
as
jiving
day.
again. Yeah. Just how they like physical comedy their way through it, pretty much.
It's modern Black Three Stooges.
Pretty
basically.
much. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And he's desperately calling his wife to tell her that he's going to be late. More Wayans comedy stuff at the desk where he's saying, "You can't close the doors. Doors are meant to open and close. That's what they do. Open the doors," for example.
God.
Just all of that all the time. The Wayans have a particular brand of humor, especially Marlon. Like I said, he's kind of a halfway decent physical actor. His emotions are wacky and wild, but also deliberate, and gets the message across. So I give him credit there. You know, having watched a lot of fucking movies now, like, watching him perform is like baseline entertaining, because he is talented. He's doing this for a long time. He's learned how to be a good physical comedian, but the problem is, the writing of his lines or his improv is so schlocky and so terrible that it just, like, puts a damper on the entire experience.
Right.
So
and this is probably why I was, like, baseline entertained for the 30 minutes that I watch. Is like, yeah, Marlon Wayans, you give him a vehicle and let him do his thing, he'll be funny.
Yeah. Watching him Wayans his way through crowds and, like, try to not be naked is like, there's low-level entertainment in that. It's like not terrible comedy, but it's not, it needs more, and it never gets more. It's just, it's just there, and it's just like, it's like the parts of a cartoon that make you go, huh, but it's just like the Wayans doing it, and then it's just not, it's not fun, with nothing else to go with it. It's just there. So, yeah, long story short, he can't get on the flight to get there in time. He yanks the intercom away from the desk attendant and offers to buy a ticket to Charleston, offering to do dirty and desperate things for a flight ticket. A woman says to him, "Oh, how desperate," and walks up to him, and they banter for a while and start making out. Because, it's his fiancée who got his phone messages saying he'd late.
I remember that.
Which is adorable. The crowd of people awes, despite the fact that the conversation the two of them had was private, and to everyone else it looks like he's going to get banged by this woman to get to his own wedding. But I guess they're all smart enough to figure it out, so whatever, they're New Yorkers. Also, the guy at the counter just stops calling security, so I guess that's a thing too, but whatever. So, future Miss Wayans, by the way, I learned no names in this movie. I refuse, so fuck you. Future Miss Wayans has rescheduled their flight to accommodate Marlon's lateness. Marlon explains that he is late because he is, quote, securing their financial future, unquote, by... Would you like to make a guess?
Lottery tickets.
That is correct. Very good. He plays the lottery, which makes him late for his flight. She gently admonishes him, and no, I'm not being funny. She's actually quite gentle with all her admonishing of him, which is a huge plot point through now and the rest of the movie. Then she tells him he needs to focus more. They have some cute banter to show, yes, they are indeed in love. There's no questions there. Like, clearly they have a connection. Clearly he very much loves her, and she very much loves him. And I think they make that obvious because that's going to be a plot point later. So there's no, like, sort of, you know, it's always one step away from falling apart. Except when it is. But we'll get to that. We also find out that future Miss Wayans is a doctor. The best doctor in New York City, apparently. And that her dad is a rich and massive asshole. We also find out that future Miss Wayans is way too good for him already. Because she's talking about doctoring. He's given, like, a snarky and cutesy response of, like, oh, them kids are going to get all better. And yeah, you a good doctor, yeah, whatever. But when he tells her he got offered a full-time position as a teacher, which he turned down, she is like, oh my god, that's so exciting. She's gushing and over the moon about it. And so, right away, we already see that she's better at being the whole supportive thing. She fixed the flight, she's his emotional rock, blah, 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 whereas he's just like Marlon Wayans, as he is in every movie. And they also talk about how it took him 7 years to propose, because as we are getting to learn,
right,
his laziness and inability to commit is apparently a plot point. Again, these two scenes are basically all that we're going to get, so really rely on remembering how these went. So they arrive in Charleston, where the wedding is going to be. The couple shows up in the church, and we meet all of our tertiary characters. For the sake of timeliness, I'm going to skip the specific order of scenes and events here and just give you the details about the characters, because that's all that's really important. This is the last event before the time loop happens, so this is really just to introduce us to our characters. And by characters, I mean suspects. So here we go. We have Marlon's mom, hereafter referred to as
juicy.
my mom. She is a single parent, seemingly, who we learn briefly, and I mean bitch. In one line, we learn very briefly that she wasn't the best mom to Marlon because she was always touring with and fucking various singers back in the day. And when I say one line, I mean one line. One line plot points is the thing we get in this movie. We have the dad.
Cram it in. You gotta ease the thumb in the asshole. You can't cram it in.
Yeah.
You gotta slip it in with care.
We have the dad of future Miss Wayans, hereafter referred to as Business Dad. Business Dad is played by the Allstate commercial guy, the Are You in Good Hands guy, which I find exceedingly strange because I didn't know he actually acted. I didn't look up his name because I'm lazy and I had way too much to talk about already. His deal is that he hates Marlon. Like, he only wants the best for future Miss Wayans.
Right, yeah. That's the only storyline you can have.
Point out, Isaac,
for the
you
wife
just went
of the
to
bride.
lower octave.
Or the dad of the bride, sorry. Wife of the bride.
You still sound lower octave.
God damn. How do I sound now? Let me make a note. 33:10. All right, I guess.
What else are we gonna do?
Let's power through it, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, just keep going. All right. So yeah,
I guess
Business Dad's wife is dead, so he raised future Mrs. Wayans as a single father, but was so wrapped up in his businesses that he often overlooks her true feelings. And by the way, he hates Marlon. Did I say that? Okay. Well, that's good because he hates him. Business Dad is
I think you
stern,
mentioned it,
unbending. He hates Marlon.
Okay.
He prefers order. He hates Marlon. He's fabulously wealthy. He hates Marlon, and he also hates Marlon. So did you get all that?
Basically, any white person, but black.
We have best man, Marlon's best friend. He is forgetful and wants to fuck the maid of honor. By the way, when I say he's forgetful, we don't learn that here, but later on in the flick. Also, that's pretty much all I have to him. We have maid of honor, a bitchy, trashy white girl who apparently used to date Marlon, but both of them utterly despised it in each other. They went on like one date, and that is how he met future Mrs. Wayans. There's not really anything else to say about her either, but she's here, so. We have douchey ex-boyfriend. He is fabulously rich, used to date future Mrs. Wayans, arrives in a Lamborghini, and is a massive, massive douchebag. Except when he's kinda not for 5 minutes. We'll get to it. Anyway, Business Dad invited him to the wedding because he wants him to substitute for Marlon in the wedding. And no, I'm honestly not even kidding. That is kind of implied and comes up twice in like 2 time loops. I can't even fucking wrap my head around how that's a thing, but we'll get to that. I'm going to be screaming about it in about 2 hours, so it's fine. They have like a business deal on the side, but it's not important. And we have the priest, who is a priest, who loves his church. And since we're talking about people at the wedding and suspects, let's define future Miss Wayans and Marlon a little bit better here as well, just for the hell of it. Future Miss Wayans is a talented doctor who is incredibly patient with all of Marlon's horse shit. You see, one of the biggest parts of this movie is that everyone thinks Marlon is a complete and utter dumbass. They are right. But future Miss Wayans sees through all that, so it seems, and accepts him and appreciates him for who he is. She jumps to his defense when her father, who, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but he really hates Marlon Wayans, berates her fiance. And when I say jumps to his defense, I mean she kind of meekly changes the subject every time, so she can't actually answer for just how shitty he is. And finally, the man himself. Marlon is a substitute teacher who doesn't like commitment or responsibility and frequently flakes out on both. He was late to the flight. As we'll see, he's late to the wedding. He forgets a bunch of tiny important details that are all important to a wedding, etc. As the movie goes on, we'll learn more and more about him that are going to seem just weirdly out of place. But the important thing to note is that he basically plays the Marlon Wayans character that he plays in every single movie. Kind of like Ray Romano, or my least favorite actor of all time, Michael Cera. Marlon has one note, which is Marlon. It's not the worst note, like I said, but it's not a great note, and it's certainly a very tired note. If this character had walked off the set of White Chicks and onto the set of Naked, I would not be remotely surprised. It's just, there's no difference. It's just, that's all he can be. So, Isaac.
Fair enough.
What's a word you would most use to describe my creativity? Yes.
Your creativity.
One word.
Just overall at large? One word.
That is correct. The answer is I'm a hack. So,
clever.
In that vein, I'm going to follow this movie's example and pull a remake of a knockoff. And I'm going to question you, a la your review of The Canyons. Who do you think ruins the wedding?
Who ruins the wedding? Oh, God. Oh, man. Who are the players? Well,
Here's
I want to say
I had way too much other shit going on in this fucking movie to stop and keep asking you that. So here's how this is going to work. You may, at any time you wish, change your guess based on the information you are presented. However, you get 2 chances to change your guess. I will give you a cutoff of when your last guess has to be by. If you are out of guesses, you, sir, are stuck with your last choice. If not, you may obviously pick another choice. I am not going to give you clues or lead up to when that is. You get nothing if you win. However, you can rub it in my face, and I will repeat verbatim any one line you wish me to repeat that is shorter than 25 seconds. If I win, I don't know. I just get to fucking
So do I get to guess?
Still. Sure. I'll
jerk off on my tits.
That is correct.
Do I get to guess now and then
with
guess
pretty much
2
no
times
evidence one
later?
way or the other, and you may then change your guess up to 2 times.
I'll say initial guess father-in-law.
Okay.
Father of the bride.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the
sure
players
that's
one
wrong,
more time.
Because that's
Marlon's
too
mom,
easy.
my mom.
But that's
future Mrs. Wayans' dad, business dad. Best man, maid of honor, douchey ex-boyfriend, the priest, future Miss Wayans, and Marlon himself. Okay, best man.
Best man. Right. Best man.
Fine. Okay.
Best man.
That sounds good.
Final answer. Best man.
All right. Okay. Don't use those pieces of paper. You need those for specific purposes. All right. So we have our characters. We have our suspects.
Okay.
We have your guess. A few other things to note before we get to the time loop. Marlon, according to Business Dad, got the wrong font on the programs, and Business Dad wants him to pick up the replacements before the wedding. Marlon forgets the ring and also skipped out on dance lessons and also hasn't written his vows. Marlon and the best man are going out to get drunk while future Mrs. Wayans is going out for her bachelorette party. Those 3 things are the 3 things we need to keep in mind for moving forward. We're going to start writing stuff down soon, so prepare your fucking self. So then, we get to the premise of this movie. The premise of this movie is that Marlon Wayans wakes up naked in an elevator, late to his own wedding, in the wrong hotel, and is stuck in an infinite time loop. Marlon Wayans wakes up
what was that?
naked in an elevator, late to his own wedding in a different hotel, and is stuck in an infinite time loop. I want to take a second, because now is a good time to talk about the movie Groundhog's Day. Groundhog's Day is a movie, I don't have the fucking details pulled up. It was made in, I want to say, the late 80s, early 90s, starring Bill Murray. the plot.
Yeah,
I'm going to
88,
spoil the
89,
whole plot
something
for
like
you.
that.
The plot of Groundhog's Day is that Bill Murray is a reporter. He is an asshole and a jerk and a misanthrope and doesn't care about anything or anyone. He kind of is also playing Bill Murray that Bill Murray plays in every movie, which I'm kind of realizing that all actors are basically just themselves always. But anyway, Bill Murray's good at what he does. Bill Murray's a very funny Bill Murray. Anyway, he goes to Puxatawney, Pennsylvania, where he is covering Groundhog's Day. Puxatawney Phil sees his shadow, 6 weeks of winter, all that shit. He ends up, inexplicably, in an infinite time loop where he repeats the same day over and over and over and over again, pretty much infinitely, until eventually, over time, he becomes a good person and he has the best version of that day he can have, and the time loop ends. And now, anyone who knows me and has heard me scream about movies knows that I hate things like that, and that sounds like something I would pick to pieces, but that movie is so unbelievable and so incredible and so well written and so amazing that I strongly encourage each and every one of you, if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's utterly amazing. It's flawless. I cannot think of a single thing wrong with that movie. It explores the time travel concepts well.
Yep.
It explores him searching himself well, because he's basically alone the whole movie. He's surrounded by people, but it's so beautiful because he's in this town.
Right.
He's in this town full of people who
that's
are
the brilliance
friendly
of it.
and I live in Pennsylvania. We're just a bunch of fucking backwoods asshole friendly yeehars, basically. I'm fucking surrounded by, and everyone's super nice, and he's this misanthrope, and he's stuck alone because he's the only one who knows he's traveling through time. And he has no explanation. He doesn't know how to make it stop. And it's utterly and totally amazing. And it tells this love story that's somehow fucking incredible and just works. And everything about it works. And it's the best. It's the best romance movie there's ever been. Hands down. It's mind-bogglingly good. Now, let's get back to Naked. We go back to the elevator, which is the elevator that Marlon Wayans wakes up in, naked, as the elevator is being repaired. Apparently, it is stuck, and he is awoken by the gentlemen who are trying to fix it. We get to see in this movie a lot of Marlon Wayans' ass, but thankfully no dong. We get some Groundhog's Day-esque gags that we know we'll be seeing over and over again. It's not funny stuff. Like, when the elevator doors open, the people have the same reactions every time because, as of course, time is repeating, not just starting. We'll get to it. Okay, so Marlon is like, everyone's laughing and taking pictures, and there's like people trying to get in the elevator, and he's walking around with his fucking dick hanging out. And Marlon goes to the desk and asks for a room key. Of course, it's a crowded hotel lobby, so everyone's staring at him. Pardon me. The clerk says he didn't hear what Marlon said because he's trying not to look at his junk, which is just hilarious because dicks are nasty. Marlon tries to check into his room, but he is told he is not staying in that room, apparently. He tries to use the phone. He asks to use the phone and calls Best Man, who is currently at the wedding, which is in progress, by the way, to come help him. Now, Isaac, there's some things about this movie I'm going to bring up as we go along. And to be honest, there's a lot. And I know if I start screaming them randomly, it's going to sound like I'm just a crazy homeless person who's talking about the end of days. So, as you recall, before we started, I asked you to get a pen and paper handy. I'm going to occasionally fire off details at you to jot down, so when I bring them up again, you can see that I'm not a lunatic and that I'm really doing my damnedest to keep a consistent timeline of events when eventually, spoilers, he does escape the time loop. So, please, I want you to take one of your sheets of paper. At the top of it, I want you to title and underline it. And I want you to title it Permanent Constants. These are things that we are going to know to be true for every iteration of the time loop. And this is important. Now, when I want you to, on that list, jot the following things down that we learn from Marlon's phone call to the best man. Now, these are things that have happened in the past. So the second the time loop starts from the elevator, these things are always happening. They are permanent constants. So please jot down. Half the guests have left the wedding.
Understood. Half guests.
Mom is singing gospel songs to fill the time.
Wedding. Mom singing.
Everyone is mad at Marlon.
Songs.
Best Man
Everyone
did
mad
not get the
at
programs.
Marlon Wayans. Best Man, no
Okay,
programs.
so these are things that we know are always going to be true every single time he wakes up in the elevator, which, spoilers, is going to be a lot. So these things are always the case. Always. Every time. They are permanent constants. Isaac, please take your second sheet of
level
paper
of depth for you.
and title it, underlined,
Oh,
the words
God.
Wedding
Okay.
Disqualifiers.
Yes.
Qualifiers, you stupid
qualified?
dumbass idiot
Okay,
face.
I'll guess.
Stupid idiot. Sure. So hold on to that one for
I
now.
got a scribble. That's
So-
close enough. Okay.
Back in the hotel,
Okay, we're not. Okay.
Marlon is nakedly running away from security guards who are trying to capture him, ? As he is running, he finds out that he's in the wrong hotel entirely. Like, he's not in the hotel they were staying in. Okay, this is interesting. As he's running, by the way, he keeps ending up dressed and then naked again, which is a running theme throughout the fucking first couple parts of this movie. Excuse me. So, as I said, and I'm going to keep saying, there's quite a bit to talk about, so we're going to fly through the bits real fast, fast as I normally would. And I'm going to tear this movie to absolute shreds, because I have to, because that's where I am, and that's who the person I'm fucking destined to be. So Marlon ends up outside the hotel, and onto the street where there's a fucking marathon happening in the street. So now that he's outside the hotel, but the security guards are continuing to chase him. I don't know why. They're hotel security, but they're chasing him naked through the streets. So anyway, Marlon ends up being
They're
comedically
goddamn
chased
good at their
through
job.
nakedly through the race itself, where he gets tackled by a pair of cops. There's a white cop and a Spanish cop who I'm going to call Ride and Die for reasons I'll explain later. So here is where we start to get to the concept about how time works, because I'm going to explain that time is used very fast and loose in this movie, which is entirely about time, because it becomes very important. So, Marlon Wayans gets tackled in the race at 11:10 a.m. By 11:35 a.m., he is in the police station being interrogated by the same two police officers. That means the following things happen in the span of 25 minutes in order. The police take naked Marlon Wayans through a massive crowd of people watching a race to their car. B, the police drive through massive race traffic, a plot point which will come up later, in a downtown, heavily populated city to get to the police station. C, Marlon is processed at said police station enough to be brought into an interrogation room. D, Marlon gives them the details of his hotel room as Ride and Die tell him his story about where his things would be at the right hotel checks out, meaning that E, the police have called the proper hotel and gotten the details about Marlon's room and possessions and whatnot to be found in there. And all of these things are supposed to happen within 25 fucking minutes. There is no earthly way, unless the police station was literally next door to that fucking race, and he was processed in the fastest time any procedural process has ever taken place that has ever taken place in the history of humankind in less than 25 minutes. So keep those things in mind, that we're going to be playing everything a little fast and loose. With the
As a person who's been arrested for masturbating in his neighbor's flower beds.
No.
It doesn't work that quickly. It really doesn't.
Not get processed and put in an interrogation room in 25 minutes. So we're playing fast and loose with the concept of time in a movie that revolves entirely around time. So Marlon Wayans gets arrested for streaking and bumping into people naked. The cops tell him he was a victim of a crime, as the elevator that he was stuck in was seemingly damaged intentionally to trap him inside. They ask him if he has any enemies, and he admits to marrying up. He's very poor. The future Miss Wayans' family is very rich. He seems blissfully unaware that everyone in his life except future Miss Wayans hates him, as the cops basically point out the plot for him, and he kind of waves it off with a, no, that's silly. My marriage is going to be fine. Would you like to reconsider your guess? Since we know he's been intentionally locked in an elevator. No pressure, Isaac. Just throwing it out there.
No, it's gotta be Best Man, because Best Man wants to
So we
fuck the
cut
shit
back
out
to
of
future Miss Wayans
Wifo.
talking to business dad. Isaac, please make a note on your list of permanent constants that the candles at the wedding have burned out.
Permanent constants.
Which is something Business Dad has mentioned.
Candles. Wedding. Burn.
Business Dad.
I can't write fast. Out. Dad.
Business
mentioned.
Business Dad says that Marlon not showing up is the best thing that could happen. Straight up telling her that Marlon is a piece of shit and would be better off dead. Do me a favor and jot down on the permanent constants list that Business Dad hates Marlon.
Business Dad.
Oh, you're going to confuse yourself later.
Loves Marlon.
All right.
Oh, God. Business Dad hates Marlon.
This Sunday.
How was the wedding you
that
performed,
too.
by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, it's this? Okay, good.
So there's some crap here with ex-boyfriend and Business Dad trying to convince her that Marlon is a piece of shit and she should give up on him at her wedding to the man. So, okay, again, timing, but we'll get to that later too because I'm going to scream about that eventually. So Marlon calls future Miss Wayans from jail telling her what all happened. As they talk, the church bell starts to ring and suddenly the equivalent of a black hole opens up in the prison, sucking Marlon through a time warp to land, face down, naked, in the elevator. Now, I know I've been talking about the time loop a bunch so far, but this is actually the first time it happens in the movie. I know it kind of makes it a little not fair to me to judge the beginning parts before the time loop, but it's important to get this stuff down now because it's integral to the plot later. You have to understand there's a time loop happening because for everything to make sense that I'm going to yell about later. So anyway, Marlon gets back up and has the same interactions with people he had as the first time he woke up. We got the usual stuff here. He can't figure out what's going on, how he ended up back in time, blah, blah, blah. He steals a phone. Yeah, he just kind of does that and makes a call to Best Man again, having the same conversation again. It's kind of underwhelming because I've been mentioning time loops since we started today, but there's just more important things to get to. So, yeah, these parts are just him figuring it out. So after he gets off the phone, which, by the way, he's on the roof of this hotel where he's locked in the elevator, which is not the same hotel. Although, also, by the way, he is naked, just dick out, flopping around. He sees legendary R&B singer Brian McKnight, a man of whom I am not familiar, but apparently is actually a legendary R&B singer. Despite being in a hurry to get back to his wedding, Marlon sort of Wayans it up and stops to talk to him. Brian has a few ladies around him, and despite one line acknowledging that Marlon's dick is flopping around like 5 inches from his face, Marlon and Brian just have a regular conversation. Marlon says that future Miss Wayans loves Brian's music, and Brian says he's having trouble writing his next love song. Marlon then asks for Brian's pants, and then in the process of his Wayansing, he says to Brian that you should be ashamed of yourself. Brian is struck by inspiration and creates a song spontaneously out of that line. You should be ashamed of yourself. He's actually quite a good singer. So, Isaac, please take your list of permanent constants, fold it in half like a hamburger. Constants. I am showing you on camera.
Oh, no.
Yes, describe what exactly I'm looking for.
Hamburger.
Now, above
not a hot
permanent
dog.
Constants on the
hamburger.
top part of your list, I want you to write the words pre-time loop. No, you take your page, look at it from the front, so that you're looking at your list. Now, right above permanent constants, I want you to write pre-time loop.
Okay.
Now,
pre-menstruation.
Below the fold, where you fold it, I want you to write post-time loop. So, like, basically you have two separate lists on one page. Does that make sense? My notes here say, Larry, help him, he is dumb, and also you hate him.
Post-time loop.
So, do you got this figured out, you fucking dumb idiot? I like turtles.
I like candy.
Okay, so now, on the bottom of the list, your new list that says post-time loop. This is a post-time loop permanent constant. I want you to write the words. Marlon befriends Brian McKnight.
The words.
And helps him write a new song. You and the audience are going to hate me. You I don't care about. The audience I do, so.
Brian McKnight? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, one of the chicks throws off her swimsuit because the song is so hot and Marlon puts it on so he has something to wear. So he's wearing a bikini bottom. Marlon gets back to his hotel. He's calling
Fair
Maid
enough.
of Honor on the phone, trying to figure out what's going on. Maid of Honor says this is what pretty much everyone except future Miss Wayans expected, and this is why things didn't work out between Marlon and Maid of Honor herself, because as she puts it, and everyone in the fucking movie has put it over and over again, Marlon is not a man. He'll never be a man. He fucks up everything he does. He's a dumb shit and doesn't afraid of anything. He tells her that someone sabotaged him and he's gonna find out who. However, the church bells begin ringing, indicating that it is now noon, and he ends back up in the elevator naked. Isaac, please take your list.
Of course.
And put one single line through the note about Brian McKnight. You still need to be able to read it, but just cross it out. Because this means...
Okay. So post-time loop, cross out...
Because
Marlon's
now
friend,
we've been through a
Brian
time loop,
McKnight
which
new
means
song.
that has no longer happened. But for reasons you'll understand much later, I need you to be able to still read it. Thank you.
Right.
So, more Wayansing as Marlon figures out once again that he has traveled through time. He grabs a phone and a bag out of an onlooker's hand and runs outside. Now, what he does first before running outside, and this is off screen, mind you, is put on this bag like a pair of shorts. It's a big brown shopping bag, and somehow he squeezes out leg holes and can wear them like shorts, seemingly in the span of seconds. For the sake of science,
Okay.
I tried this at home with
Fair enough.
3 big brown bags I had from various stores. In my haste to match his timing, I managed to completely destroy 2 bags as soon as I creamed my big hoof through them with as much force as it would take to make a precise hole. And in my 3rd attempt, where I stopped and took my careful time to make the bag into a serviceable pair of pants, it just didn't work. So unless he picked up scissors and really measured it out, this ain't fucking happening. So we get more timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff, as he calls his mom. His mom, when she gets the call, is currently sitting in the pew. Isaac, please refer to the bulletin on your list. Can you please tell me what Mom is doing at the time of this phone call?
Yes.
In our permanent constant list.
Permanent constants. Best...
Mom is singing gospel songs. Yeah. Except,
Mom is singing gospel songs.
in this fucking
Right.
one, she's
Okay,
just
there
sitting
we
in a
go.
pew, just fucking fanning herself. So, no. This
Okay,
is just
so
me complaining.
asterisk number 1.
This is just me showing to you what it's going to be, because this is a fucking toe-in. I'll tell you what to write in that list. Don't you fucking worry. Because that was a permanent constant, which means every time, unrelated to anything he does, that should always be what's happening. Because that's what's happening before he gets the fuck up out of the elevator. So, we're already 2 timelines deep and it's already fucked up. So,
Right.
okay, there's 1 tick against us already. Through the course...
This is wonderful.
Through the course of this conversation,
Larry, I'm so
Marlon
happy.
realizes
I'm so happy.
it's gonna get worse. I know
Christmas
the audience
morning.
can't see it, but I'm flapping my hands like a muppet. I'm so mad. Marlon realizes the church bell rings every time he goes back in time. He talks to the pastor over the phone and begs him not to ring the bells. The pastor refuses. The bells always rung exactly at noon for hundreds of years, and the church has never missed that, and the church has never missed a wedding. Marlon realizes that God is sending him back in time to give him a second chance at having the right wedding. I have a minor problem with this. Now, again, I want to talk about Groundhog Day. I understand
Okay.
this is a different movie, and really, you can't fucking compare them because Groundhog Day is a masterpiece and this is a pile of shit. Here's why I love Groundhog Day, and this movie almost gets it right, in fairness. Groundhog Day, like I said, he's just a misanthrope and an asshole who gets stuck in a time loop in Puxtony, Pennsylvania. The time loop never gets explained. Ever. And it also, when it ends with no explanation. It just is a thing
Right.
that happens, and it's fucking amazing. Now, here, we get Marlon basically telling us what's going on, and I don't like it. Now, again, that's just his conjecture. It's still kind of okay.
that's
Like,
no
they
good.
almost get it right, because it's just him conjecturing. Like, we don't get God saying, "Hello, Marlon, it's me. You've got to get this wedding right, Marlon." It's basically him just... Yeah. Oh, yeah,
It's
we'll
not
get to
played
that.
by Morgan Freeman.
He basically just kind of, like, figures it out and tells the audience. So, it's almost right. And it's fine. It doesn't have to be exactly like Groundhog's Day, but don't put your toe in and then not fucking go all the way. Go all the way or don't. Just, all right, you're almost there, movie.
If you're gonna put your toe in a pussy, put your dick in there too.
Life. So anyway, Marlon says, well, if God is sending me back in time, I'm going to get this right. And then he gets punched out by the guy he robbed and ends up back in the elevator. So this time, Marlon is ready. We get more Wayans stuff with the people in the elevator, which I've been ignoring because I have a billion fucking things to talk about. Marlon steals a pink fuzzy robe and slippers from the hotel gift shop and wanders down the street, begging people for skateboards or Heelys, anything to get him to his destination faster. He tries to steal a motorcycle, but the gang of bikers the motorcycle belongs to appears and begins threatening him. There's a sequence here where he fucks up the bike and consistently makes gaff after gaff at the bikers until, as penance, they make him eat a handful of quarters for punishment, which he does. They hold his head to a revved up tire of a bike, which is an absolutely fucking hardcore way to fuck somebody up that I 100% want to do. Like, holy shit. That is so fucking hardcore. I want to do that to my enemies. Jesus Christ. Oh my god,
that would fuck someone
it's so
up.
Badass. It's
like,
really
fucking
badass.
About it?
But in his babbling, he talks about dancing lessons. They let him up and make him dance for their amusement, which he does a bunch of 90s hip-hop dance moves with a giant biker from the gang. Because the Wayans have to dance in every fucking movie they're in, because that's one of their only talents. Seriously, every one of the fucking movies has
contractual obligation.
And it's the same 90s dance moves they had in fucking White Chicks. Probably the same dance.
You think you'd evolve? You do the, Harlem Shuffle? Is that a thing?
The Harlem Shake was...
I'm white.
The Harlem Shake was a thing for like 6
Larry.
minutes.
Give me some credit.
Also...
Well, what's the thing now?
Yeah.
What's a dance
dabbing,
thing?
Sure.
Dabbing?
Yeah. Whatever.
Okay. Cool. Dabbing. Got it.
No, you're not. Okay, so...
I'm cool.
The bikers...
Wiggity woo.
Allegedly. The bikers are amused by his dancing antics, but they tell him he's going to fuck up the wedding so bad, it'll be worth it to watch him fuck up his fiance's life. So they offer him a ride, defying all conventional logic. And continuing to defy logic, instead of putting him on someone else's bike, they give him a bike of his own. For whatever reason. They also choose to ride through like a direct construction site, where Marlon... I want to cry. Marlon wrecks his bike into a barricade. So we smash cut to an ambulance where Marlon is getting drugged and told he has a concussion. They happen to drive right past the church, so he jumps out of the ambulance and stumbles towards the wedding. By the way, that ambulance never comes back for him. So I guess just that's EMT procedure. If a patient escapes, they're allowed to escape. So Marlon stumbles towards... Marlon stumbles towards the wedding. He's still in his pink bathrobe. He comes across douchey ex-boyfriend in the courtyard. Marlon is high as a kite from the ambulance drugs. Ex-boyfriend marvels as to how future Miss Wayans picked Marlon over him. There's some nonsense with Marlon's ridiculously broken arm from the ambulance fall, and then ex-boyfriend tells Marlon that future Miss Wayans has been dreaming of this high school wedding day her entire life, and Marlon is completely fucking it up. It's kind of a weird revelation for one of the primary villains to be giving him. He actually starts giving Marlon like advice about how to do better. It's quick slapdash advice, but it's still like good advice nonetheless. I kind of like this because it's a human reaction to seeing someone fucked up who's completely fucked their life to high heaven. And it kind of humanizes the villain a little bit, even though we never see any of that humanity again because, time loop. And as we go along, pretty much everyone is going to give Marlon some kind of life advice or just wedding advice that he eventually uses to get the perfect wedding. Douchey X doesn't give much, but he's still kind of supportive here, which I liked a tiny bit. Marlon accuses him of sabotaging the wedding by trapping Marlon in the elevator. X says that A, that's a terrible plan. B, he fucked 3 women all night who confirmed that he was fucking them. And C, if he wanted to ruin Marlon's wedding, he just let him walk right in. Which he then realizes would be hilarious, so shuffles Marlon along into the church. But the time limit hits, and we end up back in the elevator. So, it's important to note here that the time loops last for 1 hour. He repeats 1 hour over and over. Now, in Groundhog Day, they repeats a whole day over and over.
Okay.
Every day.
Right, he wakes up at 6 a.m. every day, I think, right?
Naked, he repeats 1 hour.
That makes sense.
No.
Doesn't make as much sense.
No, it does not. Prepare yourself. So anyway, in the next time loop, Marlon steals some clothes from the hotel And then, which is my favorite part of this entire movie, he realizes for like the next 25 time loops, he realizes the fastest way to the church is to get himself in an ambulance. So he just like Wayans himself into a pole, and then like it smash cuts to him jumping out of the ambulance in front of the church. It's a fantastic gag. Like, I love that he just figures out the best way to get there is to just take an ambulance to just hurt himself and end up jumping out of it. It's really good. Right. And they like it's shot well enough where like you know it's happening but don't actually see it. So it's good stuff. It's a clever bit. So he arrives. Yeah.
Okay.
He arrives at the wedding in his stolen clothes, which is a button-up shirt, bow tie, suspenders, a flat cap, and a jacket that's way too small for him. We get some nonsense as future Mrs. Wayans is walking up the aisle, and Marlon's jacket doesn't fit. It's silly. Eventually, Business Dad just bodily throws Marlon out of the wedding. And we get a montage of time skips here as Marlon proceeds to arrive in different sets of stolen clothes, including a full Highlanders regalia with bagpipe and a tuxedo t-shirt. Eventually, after he gets thrown out for the 5th time, Marlon and Business Dad argue. Business Dad tells Marlon that he wants Marlon to be someone else. He says he doesn't dislike Marlon for who he is, but for the fact that he has no ambition, no goals, no career. Isaac. Yes, exactly.
So who he is?
Isaac, please jot down in the permanent constants list in the pre-time loop section. Marlon,
pre-time loop permanent constant.
No ambitions, comma, no goals, comma, no career.
Marlon's colon is filled with no ambition, no goal.
Okay, Business Dad says that being a husband is the hardest job he's ever had, and that marriage isn't a part-time thing, and gives Marlon a speech about what it takes to be an effective husband. Marlon accuses Business Dad of kidnapping him and putting him in the elevator, but Business Dad reminds him that he paid for this entire wedding. And if he really wanted to ruin the wedding, he'd have done it before spending all this fucking money, Marlon, you absolute twit. So there we go. As the church bells ring, Marlon sees an ex-boyfriend is wearing a suit in his size. So, now what we've learned.
Is it ex-boyfriend?
You haven't... I'm sorry, what? You know what?
I'm worrying. Ex-boyfriend makes sense now, but Best Man is the better story arc.
Please take your currently empty list of wedding disqualifiers. I want you to...
Currently empty.
Wedding disqualifiers.
I have a list?
It's on a different page.
Okay. Oh, shit.
All right. And now, I want you to put a line, not in a suit. Because, as we've learned...
Not in suit.
That's a wedding disqualifier, is not being in a suit. So
you can be in any suit. It doesn't matter what kind of suit?
I'm trying to shorten it to just not in a suit. He has to be appropriately dressed.
Okay.
So we get a time jump skip.
Okay.
We skip the elevator and all that shit to just get Marlon walking up to ex-boyfriend's car and smashing it with a rock. By the way, pretty much from this point on, him being naked is never a plot point again. Because he always just steals clothes right away. That's the first thing he does. Yeah, I know.
That's the title of the movie.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. No.
Larry?
Yeah, no, him being naked is never going to pop
frothy.
Up. No. Yeah, no, it's... After the second time skip, it stops being a problem. He just steals clothes from the hotel. He steals clothes, and then he steals more clothes, and then he just steals a different set of clothes as he goes along. Yeah, no, it's just a thing. So Marlon is walking up to ex-boyfriend's car. Also, I'm sorry, I am operating right now on like seriously 2 hours of sleep. So if I keep yawning, I apologize. And the screaming is just making me tired. Marlon walks up to ex-boyfriend's. Yeah, no, I'm suffering.
The more you suffer, the better.
Getting worse. It's getting hot in here because I'm yelling. Marlon, you interrupt me one more fucking time. I'm gonna slit your fucking throat. So Marlon walks up to ex-boyfriend's Lamborghini and smashes it with a rock.
How do you feel about Christmas lights? Like, do you think like LED lights are better, or do you go
the
like
next
the
10
original?
minutes is a relatively funny set of scenes where Marlon fights ex-boyfriend over and over, learning every fight of the punch until eventually he can even mimic what ex-boyfriend's going to say exactly. It's corny funny, but still kind of funny. It needed more time to be really believable, but it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
Like, he tries to throw a punch and gets blocked, And then, like, it shows him in the elevator getting up. He goes, like, all right, block the punch. And then he, like, blocks the punch, and there's a knee, and he's like, gotta watch the knee. And it goes on. It gets more and more ridiculous. It's pretty funny. It's not bad.
Okay, that's a good
Eventually,
bit. I like
the
that.
fight goes on long enough, and Marlon loses again. Before, on the next time skip, he finally just says, fuck it, and then just smashes the car and stabs the ex-boyfriend with a syringe from the ambulance. Again, not particularly inventive, but it's classic comedy, and it worked. So anyway, he gets the suit and shows up to the wedding. So,
fair enough.
I want you to go to your permanent constants list, the bottom half where it says post-time skip.
Bottom half. Shit.
Yes, sorry.
And
put Marlon steals X's suit.
Okay.
Marlon steals.
All right. So,
okay.
Keep your lists handy because you're going to be using them a lot. So once again,
oh god,
this is what it's like to be me. This is what it's like, except I wasn't the list. It was just all in my head. I'm showing you what the inside of my head is like. You're gonna wish you had never seen it. So he's got the suit. Future Miss Wayans is being walked down the aisle by Business Dad. As they reach the dais, Business Dad tells Marlon that Marlon forgot the programs. Okay. So Marlon storms off, and back in the elevator he goes. So, Isaac, please add to your wedding disqualifiers list must-have programs.
Okay.
Yes.
So
while you got your pen out,
must-have.
I want you to write another line on that same list that says must-have candles, which I'm going to explain in a second. Yes. So at the next time skip happens, we see the guests all have a program, and Marlon offers Business Dad one as he approaches the dais. As he hands off the program, the maid of honor says that future Miss Wayans wanted candles. And once again, we skip time for candles. Now, Isaac.
How does he get the candles
Isaac,
in an hour?
Can you please look at your
How do you
permanent
get
constants
candles?
list and tell me what the fifth item is, please? On the top, pre-time loop.
Fuck you with the fifth item.
Fifth item.
The fifth item. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's okay. Right. The candles have burned out. That means there are, in fact, fucking candles already. But apparently, lack of candles disqualifies the wedding. So, sure, fine. Future Miss Wayans wants candles, so candles she gets. So next fucking time skip, there's candles. Now, understand, this means to be the perfect wedding. This means he also has to, if you look at your list, he has stolen this suit from the ex-boyfriend. He has picked up the programs. He has been naked in the elevator and stolen the set of clothes that he wears to steal the suit, and has had a harrowing ambulance ride to get here in the first place. All in 1 hour. Isaac, what the fuck have you fucking done? How could you fucking do this to me? I thought you were my brother. Anakin, you were my brother. You were the chosen one. So there's fucking candles, and there's fucking programs. And Isaac, please recall, we learned that Marlon does not have the ring. So, Isaac, on your list of wedding disqualifiers, I want you to add must-have ring.
Must-have ring.
And I just want to say, in the space of an hour, if I can both masturbate and microwave a Hot Pocket, I feel productive.
Just you wait. So.
Oh, God. It's going to get worse. It's really it's
He's
worse
at a
than
pawn
this.
shop where he gets a ring. This time, it's kind of funny. He gets the ring and goes out to the street and just jumps in front of a car to get his ambulance ride. I liked it. Again, I love the ambulance ride bit. Now, recall that in order for this to be perfect, he has also gotten the programs, gotten the candles, gotten the ring, gotten the suit. I don't think gotten is the right way to say it, but I don't fuck you. This raises the question, if he is arriving via ambulance, how the fuck does he get the programs and candles there in the first place? But this review is going to be longer than time itself, so fucking forget it. Let's leave some things to the falafelers. So this time, we have all the things we currently need in our list of disqualifiers. So, right now, the wedding should be perfect. But obviously, as the running time is currently halfway through the movie, obviously this ain't going to be the fucking last one. We get through the ceremony to the vows.
Oh
my god.
And there's just a cringy bunch of bullshit where he gives shitty, awful vows that I'm not going to waste my time with because it's cringy shit and I hate it. Now, you would think I'd be putting this on the list of wedding disqualifiers, but you'd be wrong, and here's why. We're going to keep out anything on the list that could be fixed with infinite time. Because he has infinite time, he has infinite chances to get the wedding right, he can take time to figure out vows, because that's mental. He doesn't have to spend time in the actual hour for the vows.
Okay.
So the disqualifiers thing really only applies to things that will take up actual time before the wedding. To get the programs...
Yeah, it'll chew up a time within the hour. It's like Bill Murray learning to play piano.
Absolutely. He doesn't have to learn his vows every hour. So he could we're going to keep that off. That's not important. So he spends a few fucking time skips reading and going to another fucking wedding, and eventually we end up back at the altar where he gives ridiculous, silly vows that last way too long and are just overhyped and nonsense, and I don't care. Fuck it. Oh, God, I'm losing my voice, and I think my neighbors are currently lining a shotgun up against their floor because I'm screaming and it's 9:30 at night. So, he gives his ridiculous vows until, and this is the one, Isaac, this is where the fucking house of cards all starts to fall apart, and this is where this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Not yet, but in about 9 hours when the review is finished. So eventually, pigeons fly into the church through an open window in the upper floor. This is the thing that is happening. Everyone tries to stop the wedding and close the window, but Marlon is desperately trying to finish the wedding because his time is running out. He starts freaking out, and Best Man steps in to tell him that he's ruining the mood. Now, Isaac, while we're thinking about it, please add, window must be closed to the wedding disqualifiers list.
Wedding disqualifiers. Window must.
Marlon, who is freaking out at this point, demands that the Best Man tell him exactly what happened last night. And after some arguing, Best Man shouts that Marlon went home with a girl. Obviously, this puts a damper on the wedding.
Shit.
And future Miss Wayans slaps him and storms off. Excuse me. Also, lest you forget, please take a look at your post-time loop list that we currently have. The only active item on there is Marlon steals X's suit, right? Well, despite many time skips in the sequence, this is still active as he's been doing it every time. So now, a half-naked X comes in, apparently recovered from the drugging, and punches Marlon in his stupid face. The pigeons get scared, fly into the altar, and because of the candles, they set the entire church on fire. Everybody files out, including us getting a shot of douchey ex-boyfriend carrying future Miss Wayans over the threshold of the church while they stare lovingly into each other's eyes because, that's apparently enough to make them want to fuck again. While meanwhile, Marlon is running up the ancient steeple to destroy the bell with a wrench, which he assumes is the cause of all his problems. Everyone is looking on the ground in horror. The priest is screaming about Marlon hurting his bells. Eventually, Marlon throws the wrench off the steeple, assumedly killing at least one person, before jumping onto the bell to thrust at it with his body, screaming, which sends it careening down through the church, crushing Marlon to his death. And instead of the credits rolling, he wakes back up in the elevator.
Okay, so the takeaway I have is to get pussy, you commit arson.
Isaac, why? Isaac, that's the halfway point of the movie.
What? What? No. Shut up.
Point.
Shut your face. How is there not one more scene and this movie's over?
We need to tidy
I don't
our
understand.
List. Isaac, please cross out Marlon steals X's suit on our post-time loop list in the same manner as the other one. One line so you can still read it, please. Because he no longer
Marlon
does that
steals
anymore.
X's suit.
Crossed. So, next time skip. We see that Marlon is going straight to future Mrs. Wayans, who is waiting at the wedding, like upstairs in the chapel. He admits to her that he's a fuck-up and that while he loves her, he can't do right by her, and tells her that marrying him was a mistake. She tells him that she can't believe him. She's the only one who ever stood up for him. He just basically takes a big shit right in her mouth, which is correct. That's exactly what he's done. She tells him she should have known that he was going to flake when he missed his flight originally to buy a lottery ticket, which she then holds up. Isaac, you know what wedding dresses don't have pockets? But she has the lottery ticket right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
She brought it here.
I hate wedding dresses.
Sorry, what?
I got a bad thing with wedding dresses. They're expensive and they're uncomfortable and they make you be miserable on your wedding day when you could just wear a normal goddamn wedding dress and have a nice day, which is supposed to be the most important day of your life or whatever.
Oh, besides prom, but
fucking spending $2,000 on a goddamn murder.
Well, your wedding was still very lovely. And your wife wore sneakers, which I thought was adorable.
Yeah, my wife didn't die of heat stroke.
Yeah,
she didn't die of heat stroke.
I almost did, but I was much fatter than I am now.
We lucked
I'm still pretty fat, so it's distressing. There's a lot of big boys at that wedding. A lot of big boys in suits at that wedding. Whew.
That's the only that.
Whenever I see a picture of all of us at your wedding, the Big Show's theme starts playing. In my head, the professional wrestler, which his theme just goes, well, it's the Big Show. Because, and I was almost certainly the fattest person in that wedding party, so I'm mostly looking at myself, but a lot of big boys in your wedding. Because we're the worst kind of people.
Oh, yeah. The majority of us were over 200 pounds, and none of us are 6 feet tall.
But not close enough.
Exactly, yeah. If you're over 6 foot, you can be 200 pounds. That's okay. If you're not 6 foot, you're a fat
I have been to one wedding since
life.
your wedding, which I was a part of. And then, like you mentioned earlier, this Sunday I am officiating my friend Sarah's wedding. And I also was just invited to be a groomsman in my dear friend Pat's wedding, too. So everyone's getting married, and here I am fucking talking about Marlon Wayans. Also, my good friend Alex and his new fiance just got engaged this weekend, and I watched Naked for the second time because I've made good choices, and I'm so happy. So
I think you should propose to Marlon.
Kids. I don't want to be a stepdad.
Yeah, well, everyone can start their life over.
Oh, thanks. Gee. So now we get a bunch of crap here where over the course of a couple montage time skips, we see Marlon doing various different things instead of attending his wedding, since by now he's pretty much abandoned the wedding entirely. This includes stealing a motorcycle from the gang earlier. Please recall, now in these time skips, he has nothing to do with that gang, so they're just people he runs into. He steals a motorcycle and tries to drive it away before he drives it off a bridge, which just is a thing that happens. Not like on purpose. He just Wayans it over a bridge. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Eventually, he goes and just stalks future Miss Wayans out a window as he watches her worriedly call him while he sits outside in a tree, just watching her. But he does this only so the plot can tie up a loose end that I didn't know was a loose end, because while spying on future Mrs. Wayans, he overhears ex-boyfriend talking about how he is buying out business dad's company, which no one knows about. So that's a thing. Another time skip. And recall that every time I say the words another time skip, that means that he wakes up in the elevator naked and has to steal clothes and goes through the whole bit. So that's happening every time I say the words another time skip. So quite a few. And again, it's every hour, which just doesn't fucking work. As we'll get to. So, another time skip later, Marlon is talking to the two cops from earlier, Ride and Die, asking them about how they make their partnership work. They talk about how they're best friends and would literally take a bullet for each other, because they both have. And they would do anything for one another, calling themselves each other's, and I quote, ride or die bitch. Hence their names, Ride and Die. And which is the line he's going to use later. We see Marlon, in a different time skip, is talking to Brian McKnight, the R&B singer from earlier. Apparently, off-screen, he told Brian about the repeating time, hour over and over thing again, and Brian just believes him. Now, Isaac, recall that we crossed out on our list about befriending Brian McKnight before and helping him write a new song, because that happened post-time skip. That means the first time is not valid, and he has done it again. Don't change your list. Just remember that. Brian tells him never to give up if he wants something that bad, and we skip time again. So in this time skip, Marlon goes to some underground nightclub where his mother is. Isaac, please refer to the 5th item on your list of permanent constants pre-time loop, please.
fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh,
Candles,
no, I'm sorry.
wedding, Dad
What's
mentioned?
the second one? What's the one about Mom? Mom singing gospel fucking.
Mom
Yeah,
is singing gospel songs.
No,
at
apparently
the,
this time
at
she's
the
drinking in a
chapel,
fucking
right?
nightclub. Just not at the wedding.
Okay.
What do the words
makes sense.
permanent and constant mean?
Not consistent and
so
different
close. It's
every
actually
single
the
time.
exact
right?
opposite, where it's completely consistent and always the
fuck.
same. Because without any external influences, she'll be singing at that wedding every time. But this time she's just in a nightclub. And because there's only an hour of time, it's not feasible for her to be anywhere. Like, to say that, okay, if he is seeing her at like 11:55 right before the time skip, it's not feasible. She is his mother. She would not leave the wedding. She would probably be concerned that he is literally dead in a ditch. Because that's what his wife, his fiance is concerned that he's dead in a ditch. So, fuck it. It just, fuck me and fuck time. Anyway, his fucking mother gives him a stupid lecture about how she was a shitty mother, blah, blah, blah. She tells him not to repeat her mistakes and get out of his own way. Let's repeat that. She tells him to get out of his own damn way. What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? In the context of Marlon's character, what the fuck does that actually fucking mean? To get out of his own way. Whose way is he in? No one's. No one's. He's not in his own way. There's no way to be in, because I don't know anything about him except everyone hates him because apparently he sucks. They didn't show him sucking. They talked about him sucking. Because that's what you do in a movie, is you tell, not show. That's what fucking Film School 101 is.
That's what I like in my pornography. It's just people describing sucking a dick and not actually seeing it. Telling and not showing.
Yeah.
Much better.
Thanks, Michael Titties. Fucking... Yeah, that's the director.
Michael Titties?
No, Michael
Michael
Titties
Phelps
is
changed
the
his
director,
name?
remember? You've forgotten.
Oh, really?
Oh my god,
What's
am I in a
real
time
name?
loop? Am I in a time
No,
loop?
I did.
I'm in a time loop.
Oh, welcome to the bowels of Netflix. I am Isaac.
If my time loop is to review this movie over and over, I will kill myself live. And just wake up and do it again. Alright. So, yeah. Marlon goes back to his fucking hotel room, and he's listening to future Miss Wayans' increasingly frantic messages to him, because she's literally waiting at the altar for her fiancé who's disappeared, when a prostitute wakes up in his bed, and they scream at each other. I'm so tired of this fucking movie. This hooer tells him that she and he just worked on his wedding vows before he drunkenly passed out when she woke up and he was gone. She gives him advice about his fucking vows and then lets it slip that someone else hired her to fuck Marlon. He asks who, and she says, "Oh, I don't remember." Ooh. Are you fucking serious? That is the best writing they could think up. I don't remember. I can't remember. Just so we can drag out the fucking mystery for one or two more fucking time skips.
That's pretty bad. That's like... You could dream up anything else.
I was hitting my keyboard so hard, I thought I was going to break it. I was typing so furiously, I thought I was going to break my keyboard on my laptop.
I've been very disappointed in this movie so far, but I've not been revolted yet. But holy Christ,
who hired you to sleep with this married guy? Oh, I forgot. Even though it was like 6 hours ago. Yeah, you know. So anyway...
To be fair... When I'm on a coke bender and just fucking anyone I can get for money, I don't really.
He didn't fuck her, so whatever. So next time skip, Marlon comes out of the elevator and goes straight for the phone, trying to call the hooer in his room when security comes to accost him. Please note here that the normal two security guys he interacts with are now joined by a third security guard. These three take him into the office and tell him that he is the victim of a crime. Isaac, let's talk about how time works. So, time travel.
Yes.
Assumes, in the context of this movie, it assumes that he is going to have the same day, that the world has the same day over and over and over again. And the only thing that changes are his actions. And that if he were to take the exact same actions every day of this day, he would have the exact same day 100% of the time, because that is how time works. Because the people who are moving around in relation to him in this movie will do the same things unless they are directly interacted with by Marlon, or they are somehow affected. If he, like, smashes a car into a building, everyone in that building will be affected. Everyone in the city might be affected. But if he just goes and jerks off in a tub, everyone's going to have the same day they would normally have. Unless Marlon does something
That's
specifically to alter the time loop. The time loop will continue, unchanged. Hence our fucking lists I've been having you make. So, the fact that all of a sudden, there's now new data revealed after about 17,000 time skips makes me want to scream at the top of my lungs because it's so fucking lazy. It's the laziest writing. How dare you, titties?
Yep.
Or Marlon Wayans actually wrote this.
That's the that's the whole point of doing a time travel movie, is you box the character into your choices directly influence the outcome, and you're forcing that storyline, which is why a time travel movie can be really great.
Goes out and uses the phone in like 2 other time skips, and yet for some reason this time a new security guard is like, "Hey, I have a video of what the fuck happened to you to solve your goddamn mystery that you've been trying to figure out this whole time." Because remember, this is a mystery.
Wow.
So,
and you could so easily explain that away with, like, okay, he does X. I don't know, whatever.
Yep.
He goes to the ice machine instead of doing anything else and bumps into this guy,
because he's
and
out of the
therefore
elevator.
it happens. You could
He's
explain it
accosted by
away.
the security guards out of the elevator within like a minute. He has been out of this elevator in this hotel lobby thousands and thousands of times. And for some reason, this is the time. Because he doesn't do anything new. He just goes and uses a phone. That's it. Nothing he does prompts a different external response. Like, if you do a fucking science experiment, you have a control. This is basically like a control. Because a control gives you consistent results. Him going to the desk and using the phone is a control. Because it happens over and over. So this whole science experiment's fucked because of this thing. Isaac, last call on your guess as to who fucks up the wedding.
Yes.
Now, before I realized how insane I was going to get with this, I was planning on this being more of a bigger feature. So don't take it to a miss if you get this wrong. But who do you think fucks up the wedding? If you need a refresher on the characters, I can give it to you.
I'll take a refresher.
So our
I don't know.
Our potential
I
people
have no idea what's
see
going
through
on.
pretty much every time skip, more or less. We've got his mom, Marlon's mom, business dad, best man,
business dad,
maid of honor, ex-boyfriend, Mrs. Wayans, Marlon himself,
right?
And the priest. The priest I threw in there to throw you off. Again, I thought I was going to focus on this more, but it turns out I decided to be completely insane.
Fair enough.
Now, we've had various people get disqualified for various reasons. Although we don't know if those reasons are true. The ex-boyfriend claims that he was fucking a bunch of bitches, and also he could have let Marlon go in, but stopped him. The dad claims that he spent a bunch of money, and why the fuck would he fuck up the wedding to spend all that money, which that is a really good point. However, we don't know that that's true.
Right. I'm sticking with my original claim, best man. Just and for no evidence that I've gained throughout this review, just storytelling. That's the twist. That makes it interesting. If it's the dad who's against it, or the ex-boyfriend or whatever, that makes too much sense. That's not exciting. Best man who betrays Marlon is exciting. So that's my guess.
You are wrong, but your train of thought is exactly correct. So, security guards show him footage of the night before, where we see the maid of honor dragging Marlon from the trunk and pulling him into the elevator and jamming keys in it so it would break. So yes, maid of honor, for seemingly no reason, is the one who set the events in motion. If you're asking why, you'll just have to wait and see, won't you, you fucking whoremongering piece of ass butter. So Marlon calls future Miss Wayans, this is part of that same time skip, and gives her the lowdown that he's coming for her, and he's going to give it to her, because X going to give it to you, I going to give it to you, X going to give it to you. You know where my N-word's at. Okay, I just wanted to rap.
Right.
I wanted to rap to make me feel a little better for just a second, because
The hip to the
So the
hop.
time skip's about to happen, so this phone call is only for the audience's benefit. So, finally, we get the last time skip. The one where everything goes
joy.
right. Spoiler, this is our last trip through time. So Marlon.
So we get to die after
Marlon gets dressed in the lobby of the hotel, I guess. He jumps into the race. He runs by a racer, which he speaks a line of Swahili to him. So I guess he fucking learned Swahili in the interim. Nice little attempt to try and capture some of the Groundhog Day magic, you fucking twerps. So Marlon runs up to Ride and Die and basically tricks them by using knowledge he learned about them several time skips ago to get a ride to the wedding. By calling his wife his Ride or Die bitch, because that's what they call each other, their cute little cutesy nickname. So let's pause for a minute. Isaac, I need you to make one final
Yes, sir.
list. Now,
Oh, God.
but first of all,
Okay.
I want to ask you, how long is an hour? 60 minutes is correct.
Or
yes.
eight masturbations?
How long? What is our podcast time at right now? Currently, we're
Just shy of
like
2
an hour and
hours.
40 minutes. Okay, so yeah. So this podcast is going. We would have jumped through time once, almost twice now. I need you to really think about that. Like, I need you to really get into your head right now just how short an hour is, because an hour goes by like that.
You were
So
not
all
wrong.
of you listen to what's about to happen. And this is why. This is just how insane I am. Okay? This is me bearing my vulnerabilities to you, audience, and to you, Isaac. Okay? So,
Tell it, Larry.
Isaac,
Tell it.
I need you to turn over your list of wedding disqualifiers, and on the back, write and underline the words "perfect wedding." And I need you.
When I renew my vows,
I need you to add the following lines, and the order is important. Steals clothes in lobby. Convinces cops to give ride. Okay, now that's all for now. Hang tight, folks. Mr. Wayans' wild ride is almost done. So the cops agree to give Marlon a ride, but they say to him they'll never get across town in time with all the traffic and people for the fucking race that I mentioned in the beginning. By the way, they came here in a car, so my complaint 6 hours ago during the first time skipper verified. But that's fine. We're past that. I'm zen. So yes, they can't make it in time, but Marlon says he has an idea. So we cut to the bikers from before, just providing an escort to the cop car. If you'll recall, he befriended these bikers post-time skip, so that way that the bikers aren't really part of the thing anymore, because he befriended them before, he had to re-befriend them again.
Right.
So, Isaac, to our perfect wedding list, please add befriends bikers. There's an extended scene here where they have hijinks, getting Marlon to the wedding and almost crashing, etc. on the way. He calls Hooer, who I'm really sorry for calling her that. Frank Reynolds in Always Sunny in Philadelphia calls whores prostitutes. He calls them hooers because he's fucking Danny DeVito and I love him.
He's Frank Reynolds, yeah.
He tells her to bring the suit down to the church ASAP. So the entourage arrives to the church. Wait, what did I have? Okay, forget that. The entourage arrives to the church, and we see that Business Dad is pitching a fit about it because as he's done a million times before, he is hoping that Marlon died along the way. Remember from our permanent constants list, Business Dad hates Marlon. So Marlon gets into his tux off screen. Isaac, please mark down. Arrives at wedding, gets into tux.
Okay. Arrives at wedding. Into tux.
Now, so the wedding begins in earnest this time, for real. Business Dad walks future Miss Wayans down the aisle, and Marlon thanks him for hosting the service. Business Dad says it's a complete disaster, and he wants it to be canceled. Marlon says, "Oh, you wanted her to marry ex-boyfriend, huh?" To which Business Dad says, "Well, yeah, he's the man she deserves. He's a millionaire, and you're a piece of shit." Marlon reveals that ex-boyfriend is about to buy Business Dad's company that he learned from sitting in the fucking tree a couple time skips earlier. The two of them argue for a while. Apparently ex-boyfriend also hates Business Dad, blah, blah, fucking blah. So ex-boyfriend leaves. Isaac, please add to your perfect wedding list. Reveals treachery.
Yes. reveals treachery.
Business Dad leaves to go save his company, but Marlon chases after him to talk him about the importance of the high school prom. The wedding that is the future Mrs. Wayans. They argue, and eventually Marlon just parrots back exactly what Business Dad says to him, showing that he, in fact, has learned nothing, and instead just learned how just to get through the hour by saying the things people told him that will please them the most, because he just cheated and did not actually learn a lesson or really become a better person. So they just kind of become friends now. Isaac, add to the list. Befriends Business Dad.
Befriend Business Dad. So basically, this is how to succeed
Business
in
Dad
business.
asks if there's anything he can do, and Marlon makes a Wayans face to indicate that he has an idea. Oh my fucking god. I'm gonna die. For real. This time. So the fucking vows come, and Marlon stomps all over Mrs. Wayans by just giving great vows. And the great vows she gave before when he didn't have jack shit to say, she just kind of like, oh, wow, your vows are so good. Well, fuck mine. I don't need to give those because your vows are so good. And, oh, Jesus Christ. Just spewing his out. And they're fine vows. I'm writing an officiant speech. They're fine. I'm it's whatever. I have nothing to say else about it because fuck it.
Right.
Fuck it. Just fuck everything. We find the favor that Marlon asked Business Dad for was the ring of Business Dad's deceased wife. Isaac, if you'll please refer to your permanent constants list, can you see the
Permanent
part?
constants.
I think it's the last item where Marlon, Business Dad really hates Marlon.
Business Dad hates Marlon is the
okay.
note I have.
What's the first item on that list?
Half the guests have
and what's
left
the third
wedding
item on
already.
that list?
Third item. Everyone is mad at Marlon.
So let's everyone pause. Everyone pause for 1 second. You see what I'm talking about, how I'm a fucking insane person. Because those things are permanent constants that happened before any time loops. Now, I need you to recall that every other time loop before this one is now invalid. The only things that matter are the things on that list of pre-time loop stuff. And on that list are the things that half the guests are gone. Business Dad hates Marlon with a passion, and everyone in the building is mad at Marlon. He does not get to rejuvenate his entire character in less than an hour. Holy fuck. After the vows, the maid of honor tries to reveal that Marlon fucked the hooer. Again, I'm really sorry to call a woman that, but Frank Reynolds is really funny, and I'm a terrible person. But as the hooer is present in the room, she corroborates Marlon's story and gets maid of honor arrested because she solicited prostitution.
What?
So,
What?
maid of honor claims that she did it because, if you'll recall, and you may not, and I forgive you, she and Marlon had one date many years ago, and that is how Marlon met future Mrs. Wayans. And she wanted to be... She says that the reason Marlon didn't like their date is because she smelled bad, and Mrs. Wayans smelled good. And so this is how she gets her revenge.
What the fuck?
Folks, I live in an apartment complex. If there was no one around, I would be screaming at the top of my lungs because I'm screaming internally. I'm screaming internally.
Larry, do you want me to scream
I'm so
vicariously
fucking done with
for
this.
you?
They're fucking married. He doesn't travel through time anymore. Hooray, hooray. At the reception, oh my god, we see that Brian McKnight is playing. Now, Isaac, get your lists together.
Yes,
because
sir. Yes.
I'm about to put on my fucking propeller beanie and spin it and fly to the moon because I have some fucking work to do. Because I'm about to rip this movie to utter fucking shreds. Isaac, let's fucking do it. I've got my lists. You've got your lists. Here we fucking go. So, folks, this is all out of my head. I have none of this written down except what I have on the same list I told Isaac. I have an exact copy of that list. So now, you're gonna see what it's like to be in my head every fucking second of every day. And yeah, it's really funny when Larry's talking about Marlon Wayans shucking and jiving around the screen and trying to figure out the fucking plot of Naked. But imagine this is when you're trying to date and when you're trying to meet girls on Tinder and you're trying to just meet people and do stuff and go out and do things. You're trying to have a social life and you think about this way for literally fucking everything, and you can't talk to people, you can't have a relationship with your family, you can't do anything, because you're just this all the time, because you look at everything, and you look at every fucking detail, and you just break everything apart down in your head, and you're always talking to yourself, and you're going at fast speed like this, and it's just a stream of consciousness constantly coming out of your head, and it's just this all the time. This is my head all the time. So here we go. So, Marlon wakes up on the fucking Naked in the elevator, okay? Right. What we know at that point is that everyone in that fucking wedding hates him except his stupid fucking wife and his stupid fucking best man. We know that there's no programs there. We know that there's no candles there. Now, if we go to our list of wedding disqualifiers, we see that the things that disqualify a wedding are that he, A, has to be in a suit. Okay, so the hooer comes and brings his fucking tuxedo. So we got that one. No problem there. B, he needs to have the programs. Guess what he doesn't fucking do? Because he goes straight from from police car to wedding. So guess what? No fucking programs. So you know what that does right there? Automatically disqualified. Bam. Perfect wedding? No. Wrong. Incorrect. Because business dad will only accept the wedding that has the programs. So right away, perfect wedding, it's already wrong. But I'm not going to stop there. So next on the wedding disqualifiers, needs to have candles. Okay, you know what? I'm going to give that one a pass because it's just fucking candles, and that was just maid of honor, and she's a fucking cunt anyway, and I hate that word, but it's my brain, it's happening, it's all happening. So we also know that he needs to have a ring. That disqualifies the wedding. Okay, so he gets the ring from fucking business dad, whom goes in the span of 25 fucking seconds from hating Marlon Wayans to giving up his beloved deceased wife's wedding ring to Marlon so he can give to his daughter. Not because Marlon shows any strength of character, not because he proves that he learned a lesson, but because he just outed the millionaire ex-boyfriend as being the one to buy his company, and he just parrots back the words that he learned from Business Dad. He doesn't actually learn a lesson. He gives Business Dad the same speech, which is how he tricks him into liking him. And 15 minutes after the movie ends, Business Dad was going to go right back to hating him. So he gets out of the ring one with that, with just fucking plot hole after plot hole out of there, okay? So now, here we come to the one that really ties everything together. Isaac, what is the last item on the wedding disqualifiers list?
The window.
Do you remember what happens when the window is open? Pigeons
really
fly in and ruin the whole
sorry.
wedding. Now, do you know
Pigeons.
what Marlon Wayans does not do at any point in the time loops we discussed? Remember how we discussed how time loops work? How without his interaction, nothing else becomes of it? You know what he didn't interact with? The fucking window or the fucking pigeons. You know what doesn't happen? The fucking pigeons. So where are the pigeons? Why is the window not shut? Well, is that just God giving him a pass? So, perfect wedding. I guess, well, fuck that. Let's just crumple that up and throw that into the fucking ether. And now we get, let's get to the other part. The part that really gets me off the chain, N-word. It's the day of the actual fucking wedding. I'm shaking with rage, okay? I'm shaking with fucking rage. When I started to watch it, when I watched this the first time, I didn't think it'd get this bad, and then I just turned in my head and everything went to shit like my entire life.
I have never
My entire
seen
life
like
always
this.
ends up like this. Everything, and now it's infected this fucking Naked too. So let's talk about how long an hour is, okay? So Marlon Wayans wakes up naked in an elevator in the lobby, okay? He convinces two cops to give him a ride across town. What comes next, Isaac? Bikers. He befriends bikers off screen.
Bikers,
okay?
right.
So recall, he has exactly 1 hour to get the priest to say, "I now pronounce you man and wife." From the second he wakes up naked in an elevator, he has 60 minutes to get the pastor, the priest, or whatever, to say, "Man and fucking wife, you fucking horse." So then, they befriend the bikers. They have this harrowing fucking let's go through the city, top speeds, fucking chase. I'm frothing at the mouth. Alright? And then he shows up with the hooer is there, meets him. He gets in a tuxedo. That takes some time. Getting in a tuxedo takes some time. Okay? Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember your
yes.
wedding?
I'd
It
say
took
at
10 minutes.
minimum 5 minutes. Yeah, minimum 5, probably
He's
more
in a
like
rich
15.
guy's tuxedo. He's not in some bargain basement tuxedo. So that takes time. And then in the middle of the fucking ceremony, he just reveals treachery. So that happens. That eats up some time. Oh, and then also he befriends Business Dad, which that takes some time. And guess what else? He also reveals the whole thing with the hooer and the maid of honor. And solves the mystery, which he didn't even write down, because at that point my eyes had gone cross-eyed for hate. So I didn't even remember to say that. And somehow he manages to get all of that into 60 minutes. Okay. So the movie ends with fucking nonsense at the reception. Oh, by the way, hey guys, I'm not done. You think I'm done? You think that was a pause of letting the hate flow out? No. Because guess what? I don't know if you recall what I just said. Because at the reception, I actually didn't. I don't know if I said this yet. Did I mention who was playing at the reception? Because it's Brian McKnight.
It's gotta be Brian McKnight, yeah.
To which he tells his fiancée, oh yeah, I helped him write a song. Guess what? No, you fucking didn't. Isaac, if you look at your list of post-time loop and look at the note about Brian McKnight, did you draw a line through that? What does a line through something indicate, Isaac? It indicates that item is no longer valid.
It is not right. It has not happened in the now accepted timeline because we've reset.
So where the fuck does Brian McKnight come from? At the Smoking Gun.
Horville?
At the Smoking Gun. The Pigeons and Brian McKnight are the Smoking Gun. Because he doesn't
Pigeons
interact.
and Brian McKnight. That's a good name for a book.
It's just okay, guys, audience. I know that no one in their right fucking mind would do this when breaking down a movie. Okay, so please understand and know for the true that I am not in my right fucking mind. Okay, this is what I do now. All right, I am incapable of enjoying anything. And it's ruining my life. So there we go. The movie ends with fucking nonsense at the reception. He takes the full-time job, and I don't care. I've summarily proved this movie is broken and pretty much cannot exist. I hate it. I hate you. You're stupid. You're the worst. You can suck my dick. Movie's over. Get the fuck out of my house.
Wow. I knew it wouldn't be good, and I knew there'd be problems, but I'm surprised with how deep the problems ran.
I mean, it takes an insane person like me to do all the details and all that work. Because that stuff with the lists and shit was just from my head.
Yeah, well, okay, I've scrawled on pieces of paper crazy scribbled notes with lines through them. I feel like I'm fucking Charlie Kelly in the bottom of the mailroom, like connecting the dots.
I could hear
Pepe Sylvia.
When I pointed out the notes I made you take at the beginning and didn't bring up for 2 hours about the fucking people in the church being married at him, I could hear the pieces falling into place in your head, which made it all worth it. That's really all I wanted.
This was wonderful.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
This fucking movie. So here's my closing thoughts, okay? And this, I was gonna do some kind of crap, but this is my legitimate, like, actual taking out the insanity parts of my head and just really, like, sort of dumbing it down to why I didn't like this movie. Besides the fact that it just doesn't fucking make any sense if you actually break it down in its own lore. That's me almost burping, not almost crying. I should verify that because it could be either. This movie doesn't work. It doesn't work on its own, and it really doesn't work when you compare it to Groundhog Day. In Groundhog Day, Bill Murray starts off as an absolute asshole who doesn't give a shit about anyone, who over the course of eternity learns to become a better person on the whole and escapes the time loops, not because he has a specific goal in mind, but by becoming the absolute best person he can be and having the best day he could possibly have on Groundhog's Day. Managing to use all of his combined days of knowledge to not just cheat and do exactly what's needed to be the best person ever, but to actually just become good by being good until eventually things kind of happen naturally. Marlon Wayans becomes stuck in a loop of just making sure that his wedding hour goes right. Yes, they try and cram in a bunch of learning about self-worth and becoming a better man, but in all this time, he always has a goal in mind, a place he has to be, that he knows and is correct about, that is what's going to help him escape the time loop. Bill Murray has no goal, and eventually the rigors of the world soften him and experiences shape him into eventually becoming the right kind of person he needs to be. Now, both movies do it right by not explaining the time loop phenomena, but as Marlon is always trying to have that one perfect moment, he always has to have the right answers, to have the right order of actions, to have the mystery fucking solved. Mm-hmm. And it feels more like a puzzle than watching a man's journey to being better. Naked is not so much about the journey, but the destination, whereas Groundhog Day is so much more about the journey that he can't even believe the destination when it actually happens. And that, in truth...
Yeah,
in truth is what makes the movies so impossible to compare. Both of them are movies about a man stuck in time until he gets it right. But Groundhog Day is full of heart and brilliance and growth, where Naked is more about figuring out the right pieces to kind of make a patchwork quilt fix to a bunch of problems that we really never knew the main character needed to be fixed. Sort of. And if we don't compare the two movies, we're left with a boring sort of slog that has a few funny moments, but is just sort of, again, a Wayans fest. A mystery movie where the mystery is in the background. You know how in The Big Lebowski, the mystery is kind of secondary to the lunacy of the life of the dude? This is kind of the same way, but it's just the same exact scenes over and over with minor tweaks. There's none of the brilliance of the writing of that there. The mystery of how he ends up naked in the elevator is kind of driving the plot, but he spends more time trying to fix the wedding so the mystery just drifts in and out. It's just a mess. It's just a boring mess. I didn't expect it to enrage me on such a level it did. But like when I try to look back critically at it instead of being my insane self, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It leaves me a strong desire to watch Groundhog Day, which is just a much better movie that had the component that Naked was missing the most. Heart.
Right. Yeah, and it seems like it's Naked is kind of a metaphor for itself, kind of, in that, like, everything it's missing is the aspect of the movie itself, just that it doesn't have, like you said, heart. It doesn't, just, I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it, and I'm losing my words here.
I get what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. It's just, it's just no good.
But it gets lost in itself and in its idea of itself and sort of forcing the plot, and it never recenters on, like, the character. No. Where Groundhog Day is central. Bill Murray growing is the entire movie.
It's really weird to say because everyone's performance in Groundhog Day is great, but it's like that's what makes Groundhog Day so brilliant. Because it's basically just Bill Murray on stage giving a monologue constantly. And like he could be talking to nobody. Because the other people don't really matter. I mean, they do. There's a woman he falls in love with. Because it's a romance. And there's like the other people in town.
Andie MacDowell, I think is her name.
What's that?
Andie MacDowell.
Okay, yeah. I didn't look up any Groundhog Day details.
She's one of those like forgotten people who probably shouldn't be forgotten.
And she's excellent. Like all the performances in there are great. But it's like it's so beautifully done to make Bill Murray the focus because he's the one stuck in time.
Yeah. Right. That's the story.
This is like it's the comedy just doesn't work in Naked. It just doesn't fit. It's like it has no heart. There's no soul to it. It's just
it's plugging in
because he's always trying to get somewhere. Like I did not realize how bad that was going to be, that him knowing where he was going to end up is the part that kills it. Not just the audience, because obviously when you're watching Groundhog Day...
Right, that's a good point.
When you're watching Groundhog Day, it's kind of... Bill Murray is probably going to end up with the girl, because it's a romance movie, and even the ones I like are still fucking schlocky as hell. But the fact... Bill Murray doesn't know that. He doesn't know how to escape. And that is what makes it so beautiful, because you're just watching a guy who gets all the time in the world to figure out basically what's wrong with him and who he is. Because I keep saying it, but he's just alone in this town full of the most happy people in the world who cannot relate to him because he's stuck in time. And he has to really go on this really amazing journey that he doesn't know he's on to become the best Bill Murray. And there's something really magical about that. Whereas in this, taking out all of my nonsense and all of the impetus of the show and everything, there's no heart to Marlon Wayans. There's just no, and all this stuff about him, we're supposed to think that he's just this kind of slapdash sort of yeah, I'm gonna get married, it's gonna be great. It's told and not shown, and we don't get to explore that because we never get to stop and see him doing these things because he's always trying to get to the wedding.
Right, and the equation's there from the get-go, which I really is the crux of it, and I didn't see that until you brought it up. But just, the end of the movie in the first 5 minutes.
And so
he's going to have the perfect wedding.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
exactly.
There's a lot of movies, especially romance movies, you can basically tell what's going to happen, which is I like the ones where they surprise me because
and that can be okay. That's not the end of the world necessarily.
Fine. Watch any superhero movie, you know how it's going to fucking end, and they're still oftentimes really great. But there's nothing wrong with that. But there has to be then that raises the expectation that it has to be better. It has to make you want to get there and be okay when you get there. And this just doesn't do it because there's just no heart to it. It's just it's a bummer because I wanted to, when you talked about liking it, I cannot tell you, Groundhog Day means a lot to me personally. It's a really important movie in my life for a lot of reasons. And I wanted to like this because it's a great idea for a plot. Just a guy stuck in time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just moving a character through a story, time loop,
and it
bam.
Doesn't have to be, I'm not saying it has to be the same formula as Groundhog Day, or it even has to be a romance. You can do a lot with that, but this just does not do it. At all.
Yeah.
Just at all. It just doesn't get it.
I really wonder how conscious they were of what they were doing compared to Groundhog's Day.
Well, again, that's the thing, too, because they're probably, they definitely do some of the same sort of gags where he, because sometimes Marlon would wake up in the elevator and be, smacking the people outside the elevator, or sometimes he'd be, posing for pictures with them in the nude and stuff, and they do the same kind of gags in Groundhog Day where, the guy who's selling the insurance, some days Bill Murray will just walk by him and punch him in his face, and some days he'll, buy insurance.
I just wonder how much it's a Netflix executive chomping on a cigar, being Groundhog's Day made a lot of money 30 years ago, let's put Marlon Wayans in it,
I don't know. Well, and again, this is a remake of Naked, the Swedish movie, and it's supposedly a pretty close remake-ish, which is the same story, a guy naked in an elevator for his wedding.
Right.
Because it's, but you have to, in every review I saw makes a comparison to Groundhog Day because it's such a it'd be like doing a movie, because I bet you, if you would talk to the people who, wrote and directed this movie and say, at Groundhog Day, they'd be well, it's not Groundhog Day, it's off a different movie, and it's just the same sort of concept.
Right, yeah.
But you can't, because Groundhog Day is so influential in that, as what it is, because it's a landmark of, holy fucking shit. It's this romance movie about a guy in a time loop, and it's fucking mind-blowingly good. It's kind of like if you and I made a movie about, where the movie was shot in reverse, it was played in reverse, and then we were oh, it's nothing like Memento, just because it has the same premise. Right. You gotta compare it to Memento, because it's the same overall thing, And that's why either alone, it's just Naked is just a boring, schlocky, slapdash thrown together time loop plot with two really good gags. Compared to Groundhog's Day, it's downright just pathetic. pathetic. Because I've said it 5 times now, there's no heart in it. And that fucking kills me inside. Also, the fact that I could poke more holes in this than in fucking Swiss cheese, but that's just because I'm a lunatic.
Yeah, that was
That's because I'm a lunatic, so, you know.
I don't think I've had quite as much fun during our review as this one. Trying to keep track of what you were telling me and piece it together is great. Oh, you magnificent bastard.
Yeah, I am so done talking about this movie. From now until the end of fucking time. I give this movie...
Oh, that was your first Netflix original.
I give this movie a 0.5 out of 10. Only because I actually really like the ambulance gag. Like, no, I can't... That is fantastic.
Fair enough. I'll give you credit for that.
The fight scene... I'll tell you what. I'll give it... No, I don't want to do point. I'll give it a 1 out of 10. I don't want to do halves and shit. What's the point? Just make it out of 100. I'll give it a 1 out of 10. Not a 0, because there were some gags, like the fight scene gag where he learns the fight over the course of the time skips, and the ambulance, and like I said, Marlon Wayans is good at what he does, and I give him credit for that sometimes his facial expressions and his nonsense, if you go on to Rotten Tomatoes right now, and look at like the still from the trailer, it's just him getting thrown out by the Allstate guy of the wedding in a ridiculous blue suit, and he looks pretty funny. Like, he's a funny-ish guy.
Yeah.
So I give it a 1 out of 10. Not the lowest, but about as low as you can get.
Right.
So I would say famously my least favorite movie, my most hated movie on the show so far, is Love, Wedding, Marriage. Between that and this, I don't know. It's really a toss-up.
Ooh, wow. I didn't think...
I didn't
think this would come that low.
I hated the characters and the input, like the plot of Love, Wedding, Marriage more, but like I hate the plot holes and how disappointing it is compared to Groundhog Day in this too. And I don't know. I'm gonna have to ruminate on that because it's close.
Interesting.
Because
I really wouldn't have guessed that.
I really hated Love, Wedding, Marriage. In case you couldn't tell, I think I got.
Yeah, I know that.
I got crazier about this just because, but this was more like manic hate. That was more intense. Right. That was more vitriolic hate. So I think that one I still hate more. But this one is definitely second, and it's probably a very close second. And with that, I am done talking about Naked. For fuck's fucking sake, I'm crumpling these lists live, camera. And that's that.
Well, congratulations on purging.
Taking off my shirt.
Bells. Get naked, sir. You burned it.
Shirt. Fucking God.
You beautiful bastard.
Stuck to me with sweat. I'm fat. White, but I hate it.
Oh, dem titties are out. Dem titties. Right. Well, man, that was an adventure. Holy shit! I was hesitant to give this to you. I really was, but I'm so glad how it turned out.
Fuck your mother.
Oh man, but yeah, thank you all so much for listening. This is the Bowels of Netflix. We really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We love doing this. We like to get more listeners. It's really fun. So yeah, just rate and subscribe. If you have any friends who are into podcasts, you think they might like some crazy shit like this, go ahead and recommend us. If you want to interact with us on social media, we got Facebook, we got Twitter. Those are both at Bowels of Netflix. If you want to send us an email, it's bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. If you have any movie suggestions or just general thoughts about the show, or if you've seen any of these movies and you have your own personal experience with them, maybe you watched it while you were getting blown or something like that, that'd be cool to hear that story too. And yeah, shout out to Kevin MacLeod from Incompetech.com. All the lovely music you've heard in this episode and all our episodes is thanks to him. He offers it up free on the internet. So if you have any creative projects, you can go to his website, Incompetech.com. Download his stuff. You just have to throw him a quick Creative Commons credit in your whatever. So the exact descriptions are in the episode details. And next week, I'm going to be talking about a movie that Larry has made me watch, and it's got a little history for us because we've covered part 2 of the Great North Trilogy, Yoga Hosers, a Kevin Smith movie. Next week we're covering the first of the trilogy, called Tusk, which is a unique movie. I am very perplexed by its existence. And we'll be getting into all the details next week, next Sunday. So make sure to come back and listen to episode 22, because that should be an adventure in itself.
Yeah, come back and I'm gonna die now. I have, for the first time in a long time, I have no more hate to give.
Oh, you've emptied your hate.
Yeah.
How much cum is on the floor around you?
I don't want to talk about it. So I'm not going to.
Fair enough, sir. I can't blame you. Any closing thoughts, or are you ready to sign off for the week?
I'm ready to sign off for the week.
Well, thank you so much for listening. We love you, we adore you, and we'll see you next week.
Smell